Hey, race fans, Richard Allen of motorsportsreport.net coming at you with a preview of the 55th running of the World 100 this weekend at Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio. It will take place between September the 4th and September the 6th. Of course, the World 100 is the biggest event as far as most prestigious anyway. It may not necessarily be the highest paying. It does pay $72,000 to win, which is nothing to sneeze at all. But it may not be the highest paying, but it is the most prestigious, the granddaddy of them all. If you follow other forms of racing, you kind of compare it maybe to the Southern 500 at Darlington. May not be the biggest race, maybe Daytona or Charlotte's Coke 600 might be bigger, but it's the one everybody wants to win. Well, certainly this is the one everybody wants to win in dirt late model racing. Probably going to be a field of, if not 100 cars, it's going to be somewhere close to it. And of course, all the biggest names in dirt late model racing will be there. So let's take a look how the weekend's going to play out. First of all, on September the 4th and September the 5th, Thursday and Friday, leading into the big show, there's going to be a pair of 12,000 to win prelim feature races on both nights. So in other words, on Thursday there's going to be two 12,000 to win races, and on Friday two 12,000 to win races. Not only are those paying up, pretty nice paydays for a prelim, but they're also going to be used. A point system is going to be used to set the heat races that'll play out there on Saturday before the 72,000 to win main event. That'll come up there at Eldora. And of course, those heat races at Eldora are always a sight to see. I mean, you'll have basically a world-class feature race at most other tracks, just playing out in the heat races. So that'll be exciting. Of course, there'll be B mains on Saturday as well for the guys who don't make it through the heat races. Of course, at Eldora, one thing you always got to keep in mind are the inverts, the highest in the points from after Thursday and Friday's race will spin that infamous wheel of doom to determine how the heat races will be inverted. Then they'll just work from there. Of course, in a 100-lap race at Eldora, if you can just make the field, you've got a shot. As we've seen in the past, we've seen guys come from well back in the field. Of course, famously, remember Scott Bloomquist winning that race at Eldora after he was put to the tail, and he made the famous quote, "It was over when they put me at the tail." So who knows? There might be somebody come from the tail to win. But like I said, a pair of 12,000 to win prelim races on Thursday, a pair of 12,000 to win prelim races on Friday, setting up the heat races for the 72,000 to win World 100 that'll come up on Saturday. Let's take a look at some of the individuals. And one of these big dirt late model races, there's always can be a surprise winner. You never know. But over 100 laps, it's all going to play out where the so-called cream, will rise to the top. It's going to be the same cast of characters that are always in contention. And if you look at the last few big Eldora races, it's been two drivers who have been at the top of the heap when the checkered flag waved: Jonathan Davenport and Bobby Pierce. Bobby Pierce won Dirt Track World Championship here at the end of last year, of course, a Lucas Oil sanctioned race, but he was in it even though he's a World of Outlaws regular. So he picked that up. Pierce also won the Flow Racing Night in America race just prior to the Dirt Late Model Dream earlier this year. Davenport won the Dirt Late Model Dream, and he is a 5-time winner of the World 100, so he certainly knows his way around that half-mile track there in Rossburg, Ohio, for sure. So you have to start any conversation with who's going to win this race. You have to start with Bobby Pierce and Jonathan Davenport. Of course, they're going to be the primary favorites, I think, going in. And if you look at Jonathan Davenport's record in particular, Pierce has won the World 100 a couple of times, including last year. But Davenport's won it 5 times. He's only one short of Billy Moyer's all-time record of 6. So just to put that in historical context, Moyer won 6 World 100s. Davenport's won 5. Scott Bloomquist won 4. So again, cream rising to the top as is going to be the case in one of these really big races like this. So if you're making a prediction, which by the way, the predictions that myself and Austin Allen and Cody Allen will make for this race will come up later in the week when we post the Crown Jewel preview piece for this race. But when you go to make a prediction, you've got to look at those two guys first, and then when you start looking at other guys who could be in contention, of course, Ricky Thornton Jr. He's on a roll right now. He's won a couple of Lucas Oil features, a couple of the bigger races. He's never had the best of luck at Eldora when it comes to winning the big shows, but he's going to be in contention. He's going to be there. Devin Moran, always in contention of the big shows. Hudson O'Neal, always in contention of the big shows. Like I said, it's kind of the same cast of characters. I'm one of the voters in the Dirt on Dirt Top 25 poll every week, and it's really, you're putting the same 6-8 guys at the top every time. It's just kind of mixing it up as to which one is going to be at the top and who's going to be second, third, or fourth. But it's the same group of guys. They don't change much. So you got to look at those guys. Brandon Overton has had his successes at Eldora. It hasn't probably been the season that Brandon Overton and that Longhorn factory team thought they might have, and what everybody else thought they might have coming into 2025. But they're always a threat, especially at Eldora, where he's so good. Where he's remember that one year back in 2021 when they were making up the races that were missed because of COVID. Overton won 3 of the 4 when they had 2 Dreams and 2 World 100s that year. So he certainly knows how to get around this place as well. And look for those guys are the ones that you're going to put up at the top, the ones I just now mentioned at the top of your list as far as picking who could win. Some other names out there, Dale McDowell, always in contention at Eldora, running that low line around there, just steady as can be all the time. He had that long string of top 10 finishes at Eldora. So if you're in the top 10, you've got a shot. And I would not be even a little surprised to see Dale McDowell in the top 10 when everything is all said and done at Eldora. And he could very well be on the top step of the podium, which he's been at that track several other times. Some guys who have really kind of come on here lately and who might be in the mix as well. Brian Shirley's been running really well. Especially up in some of those Midwestern World of Outlaw races and some of the other where he's stepped off into some other series as well when the Outlaws have been off for the weekend. So Brian Shirley could be up there. Dennis Erb Jr., who did not get off to a good start this season at all, has really shown some speed. He and Heather Lynd have seemed to have put everything together. Got a new car, so they've worked through the bugs of that new car, I guess, and they've got it running consistently. Qualifying well, running well in heat races, and he's put together a nice string of top 5 and top 10 finishes. Another guy who also has won, like Herb, who's won at Eldora, who's been running pretty well here lately, would be Tim McCready. McCready and that Boom Briggs team that he drives for, the Longhorn team that he drives for, don't be surprised to see them in the mix as well. And, of course, you've always got, a guy left out when I was talking about the ones who are always the favorites. Brandon Shepard, you figure he's going to be in the mix in that Rocket House car as well. And they've been running pretty well here lately as well. Now, if you really want to go, into a big surprise who could possibly win, Jason Jameson has really put together a nice second half of the season so far in 2024. He and that Justin Ratliff team, they've run really well. And, he could certainly, he was in contention at the North-South 100 for a good portion of that race. So, and that's something to keep in mind. And another guy who's from locally here where I'm from in East Tennessee, Corey Hedgecock, as not only running well here in East Tennessee where he always does, but then he's kind of stepped out a little further away from home and has been in contention at some nice races as well. So There's a lot to look forward to this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from Eldora Speedway. So we'll certainly be keeping up with it on motorsportsreport.net, and hopefully you will too. But until then, this is Richard Allen saying I will see you at the track.